I can let that thing go on and on, everybody. Hi, I am Kathie J. Welcome to the Kathie J Show. I'm still here, everybody. Day 3. All right, we're still here. I want to say thank you to everybody out there that's been watching and sending so much love on social media. I got flowers from Michael Moore. I got some alcohol. I love you, Gina. Thank you to Mary and Nick. I love getting the gifts, but really, I really love knowing that I'm connecting with all of you and that we're having these conversations, because that's what I really wanted my show to be about. You know, I told you I wanted us to have these real conversations about things that are happening in lives and in our lives, because the show's about us. Things that actually might be hard to talk about, we're going to talk about it, because real people are going through all these things. They're living with them, and sometimes it's a real struggle to manage how they're living, and we wouldn't even know that they're doing it. One of those things is OCD. Okay, everybody, obsessive compulsive disorder. It's a mental and behavioral disorder where a person feels the need to check things over and over again, and they spend a lot of time on it, a lot of time on routine tasks. People with OCD also have certain thoughts that are constantly running through their head all day. Did you know that? It sounds exhausting, doesn't it? And it actually is exhausting. How do you know? Well, I know because my husband, my beautiful, awesome husband of 10 years, JJ, he has OCD. And today I wanted to share this part of my life with you so that we could understand the disorder a little better and we can have a little compassion for those living with OCD. So today is my 10-year wedding anniversary. Yay! And that's the picture I wanted to share with you guys, because I wanted you to see that our wedding was really about love. We had 20 people with us, the people that we cared about the most in our lives, family and friends, and we stood up there on a mountain in upstate New York and we had a great day. And I vowed to love him, and he vowed to love me, good and the bad and the ugly. Trust me, I got the better end of the deal. But you know what? Here's the funny thing. For those who are keeping track, yes, I did bring him on my show on our 10-year anniversary to talk to a therapist. But listen, it's very romantic. That's how I play. But you know what? Here's the thing. I wasn't aware of how serious his OCD was until we went on vacation together when we first started dating. And he had his golf bag, right? And I was like, okay, so I didn't know that we were golfing. And he opened it up and it was full of his clothes and his toiletries and stuff, but it was filled with paper towels. And I was like, what are you doing with the paper towels? He used them to dry off, and it just caught me off guard. He would rather use those than the towels in the hotel. Now, OCD affects 2.2 million adults, according to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, and it's equally common among men and women. So if you're sitting at home right now going, I have OCD, you have OCD, I know somebody that has OCD, it's probably true, because it impacts people's families, their friends, their coworkers, and the list goes on and on and on. So that's why we're going to have this conversation today. And you know, you always hear, like I said earlier, people are always saying, stop acting so OCD, or, oh, God, I am OCD when it comes to organizing my house. But here's the thing. It's one thing to have OCD tendencies that we all have as humans. Okay, I don't really have any, though. I wish I had that kind of commitment. But it's a whole other animal when you've been diagnosed with OCD. It's a disorder that you got to manage in your everyday life, and it can be done. People are doing it, so it's time to talk about it. A little awareness can go a long way and help us understand each other a little more. We'll be right back. The Colorado Lottery is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. Colorado Lottery, play on. Kathie J. Yes, yes, yes. That music is from Such. Such is actually going to be here with us this Friday, everybody. So I'm very excited for all of you to meet her. And thank you for joining me on the Kathie J Show. I'm going to be doing that for a while. Everybody just get used to it. Okay, so we're getting real right now about things that matter in this world. And on today's show, it's about OCD. And there is a very, very, very special person in my life that has OCD. It's my husband, JJ. I've been married to him for 10 years. Yay, JJ! JJ's here to share his story about OCD, and I really appreciate you coming on the show on our 10-year anniversary.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, when we were talking about plans for our 10th year anniversary, most people consider dinner,
Right.
Maybe a movie, maybe even a trip. She says, can you come on the show?
On the show? Right.
Talk about your deep, dark secrets. So here I am.
And I got a therapist for later. So this is going to be a perfect day for me. But here's the thing. We were friends and coworkers before we started dating. So here's actually a picture of us with Mario, for any of you that recognize, that's Mario. You remember that day, baby?
I do.
I know. That was when I was a redhead. Maybe I should go back to being a redhead. Anyways, this is how, so I knew you as just the cute JJ, the sweet little JJ that sometimes didn't want to touch his cup when we were in the movie theater. You would just do this and drink out of the straw. You were adorable, you know, and you still are, honey. But it wasn't until we started dating that I really knew that you had the OCD. Like I said, when we went to, you know, when we went to the hotel and you had those paper towels. So when did you realize that you had OCD?
Well, I realized it when I was younger, when I was in ninth grade, freshman in high school, and I started having OCD tendencies, afraid to leave the house, you know, touch things, public places. My mom had OCD, so for many people it's hereditary.
Right.
And there's a trigger that that starts it. But you know, it was very confusing and a long process of going through exactly what it meant, what it was, you know, what my feelings were, what I could and couldn't do, and yeah, it took a while to really get diagnosed correctly. They didn't have as much, you know, information, you know, 20, 30 years ago as they do now. So yeah, it was definitely a long process to work through it.
How did you get diagnosed, and what were you diagnosed with?
Well, I was diagnosed officially with obsessive compulsive disorder. It was a little easier for me again because my mom had it and had already been diagnosed. So we went to all the doctors, the therapists, tried medicines, you know, different types of medicines, different doses, and unfortunately for me, none of the medicines really helped, especially with some of the side effects. So luckily, I had a really great support system, you know, with my mom, who obviously was dealing with it, and then my best friend at the time,
Eric,
helped me with a series of behavioral therapy. And
he was just your best friend, but you got sick of the fact that you got so crazy with the the OCD took such control over you that you didn't graduate high school, and your friend Eric would come at night and take you out of the house, and you'd walk around the neighborhood because that was the only time you could leave your house.
Yeah, I started missing things. I missed, you know, the proms, the graduations, you know, just times with friends, and things like finding true love. You know, so it became a motivational way for me to work through the therapy, and you know, for anybody out there who's struggling with it, you have to have, you know, sort of a reason for, you know, pushing forward, and it's a series of trade-offs, right? When you find things that are important to you and that you really value, it helps you overcome things. It's no different than any physical obstacle in that manner. Just having the mental fortitude and drive to really push through.
Now I have two questions left for you, and we're running out of time, babe. So you never talk this much when we're at home. No, I'm kidding. The first one is, I want people to know how serious this was for you. Not only did you not graduate high school because it overcame you, but you almost died from it.
Yeah, there were times where I couldn't leave the house or put myself in risky situations. You know, there was a time where I, you know, went out of the house in below freezing weather and walked, you know, 10 miles to school in a t-shirt.
Right.
And things like that.
And I just want to say to the grocery store guy that didn't let my baby warm up in your grocery store, a teenager without a coat that just walked in the snow in your grocery store trying to keep warm, and you thought he was acting weird. He had OCD and he couldn't wear the coat because the germs were in his head, and he kicked you out again in the snow.
You know, that's the hard thing is I think a lot of people try to hide behind the illness. Especially because people can't see it. It's not like a broken leg or anything like that. And, you know, there is a sense of embarrassment that comes with it, especially when you're younger and, you know, you're trying to sort of find your way and you know, you're dealing with, you know, whether it's parents or friends or teachers, you know, at school that just don't understand what it's all about.
Right, because and you were the strongest minded man, human, I know. When you put your mind to something, you can really do it. Like your nickname when I was on the radio was Mr. Efficient, because you can find 25 hours in a day. Like, I don't know how you do it, but it's obviously your OCD has transferred from, because you deal with me, you manage the girls, you manage the grind of your second job, which is remodeling houses. I mean, you handle all that. How do you do it? Has it switched to being Mr. Efficient in your head?
It has. I think there's always been a point where I never wanted to fall back into where I was previously, so I'm always pushing forward. And I think a lot of people with mental illness, there's positives that come out of it as well.
Right.
Whether it's how I deal with tasks or deal with numbers, or just able to multitask and remember things and compartmentalize things. That there are positives that I've been able to take out of it. So.
Right. And then, but what do you want other people to know about? Because like when we had our daughters, I was concerned, like, are you going to be able to help me? Because kids are dirty.
We've got some dirty ones.
Yes, right. And I was really worried about how that, do you go into, do you honestly, are your brains fighting each other, both sides of your brain?
Not as much anymore. Again, when you have kids and a marriage and just a life to live, it kind of takes over.
Right.
And you do, what's necessary and what's best for them. And but you always still want to be cognizant of the past and what's happened, so that those things don't repeat itself, or I can see if there's any signs that the
so
kids
something
are
triggers
observing.
you know your triggers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I'm one of his triggers. And we'll be right back to talk more about that. I'm serious, actually. We'll be right back after these messages. Oakwood Homes, I have to thank them. I love you, Oakwood Homes. They're an official partner of the Kathie J Show. Oakwood Homes, building happiness. Kathie J. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us this half hour. So we just heard from my cute little hubby, my baby daddy, JJ, about his OCD, and I'm really, really, really proud of you, babe, for sharing your story. Thank you very much. And I hope it helped some of you that are watching kind of get a glimpse into what life is like having OCD, having it in your mind, and what it's like to actually live with somebody who has OCD, just from my side of it and his side of it. But we wanted to go even deeper about OCD, and that's why we invited Dr. Erin Barley here. She is the Director of Behavioral Health with the Stride Community Health Center to join us. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Erin. Okay, so you heard JJ, and we'll get into that a little later, but what is OCD, and what is it not?
Yeah, you did a great job at the beginning talking about, a lot of people say, oh, I'm so OCD, my closet has to be a certain way, I want my clothes hung up in just the right manner, and that is not the OCD that we're talking about today. So true obsessive compulsive disorder follows a cycle, and the cycle starts with having what we call an obsessive thought, so a really bothersome, intrusive thought, and then the person engages in, has an anxiety experience, and that anxiety is really hard to overcome. So then they'll engage in a behavior to make that anxiety lessen, and then they'll experience temporary relief.
Okay. And so how do you know if you have it? How do you know it's not like my friend Brooke, who's very OCD about organizing everything in her cabinets? How do you know you have it? Do you have to be diagnosed?
Yes, so best course of action is to get diagnosed by a mental health professional. And individuals with true OCD are spending hours each day engaging not only in those challenging thoughts and experiencing a lot of emotional distress, but also in the behaviors that are trying to neutralize that anxiety.
Yes. JJ always tries to explain to me how tired his brain is, and I can only comprehend because he has all the jobs that he's trying to balance and he says it's a whole nother level of what's exhausting him in his brain.
Exactly.
And that's what you're talking about. It's the OCD controlling him, and he's trying to tell himself not to do it.
Right. As an outsider, we're really only seeing the compulsions or the behaviors. And sometimes those can be really well hidden. And we're not seeing, they're kind of like a duck with their feet paddling rapidly underwater. There's a lot that's happening in the brain that's really exhausting to manage.
Yeah, I had an idea because I just trusted him. Now, what can you look for? I mean, are there therapies? Like JJ said, the medicine didn't work for him, but how do you help people that have OCD?
Yeah, so research shows that the best treatment is a combination of medication and therapy. The therapy will do a lot of the things that JJ mentioned him and his friend were working on in high school, which is great. So your therapist will help you identify what are those challenging thoughts you're having, how often are they happening, and what are different ways of looking at the situation, and then also address the behavioral component. So recognizing what are you doing, is there a different way we can approach those situations, and trying to actually stop you from engaging in those behaviors, which is challenging.
Very, very challenging. Yeah. Yes. So do you think that so setting up routines, are those good? And if I'm the caregiver, do I support those routines, or is that not helpful? Like, how do I know whether or not it's his brain and I need to step in to remind him to stop?
Yeah.
Or if it's something, a routine that's actually healthy for him?
Yeah, I think having a conversation with the individual is the best first step. And anytime we talk about caregivers, I like to remind everyone that caregivers have a really hard job. And so making sure you're taking care of yourself, kind of that analogy of putting on the air mask if it falls in an airplane cabin first before you take care of others.
Yes.
But then, yes, asking what would be most helpful for the individual. Sometimes it might be setting up the environment for success. So making sure if hand washing is a trigger, making sure that the soap is in a place that is conducive to them engaging in hand washing less.
Yes.
So we're more often
Gotcha.
talking
Okay.
about it.
We do. We work on that. We totally do. Right. And thank goodness he loves to clean.
That is awesome.
All right. Who wins? Kathie wins. All right. But I also wanted to talk about, is OCD hereditary? Because my husband, you know, his mother, his grandmother, I definitely feel had it. Don't you feel in some version? And I, you know, love to his brother and sister, but they have it too.
Yeah.
Like-
So we do think that there's both a genetic component as well as environmental factors. And we think it's about a 50-50 split. So people with OCD have a gene that is more likely to be turned on either in a stressful environment or an environment where they see someone else engaging in similar behavior. So as he mentioned his mom, he might have learned that, oh, if I feel anxious, I can do some of these things and I can feel better.
Right.
Having that genetic underlying.
Hers was different. She couldn't see words of animals through the, you know, that would trigger her and then she couldn't go out. I mean, so it's crazy to me to think about it, but for them it was normal, and I want to make sure that I help them be able to live. Living in your house is no way to go. I mean, like my husband, the thought that he was going out at night and that was his fresh air because he was too scared during the day, that breaks my heart. And so the fact now that he tears apart, he pulls other people's toilets out in home remodels. I'm like, who are you? What is happening? But it can be done. You know, if the individual can recognize it and work through it, correct, with help.
Yes, yeah, treatment does really work, and treatment can take various forms for different individuals. And I think that's why this conversation is so important, because OCD can have a really significant impact on one's quality of life. Like you mentioned, with missing huge events, like throughout
his
high school.
graduation.
I know.
I know. What about? I mean, yes, I could go on and on about how amazing he is, but OCD in the pandemic, that really was a big one.
Yeah,
Tell everybody about
it's a big one, especially with what's going on with the Delta variant right now. So a lot of individuals with OCD fear what we call contamination. So being fearful that they would become very ill and maybe die or become seriously injured. And so individuals with OCD, I can imagine, are having a really hard time with the unclear guidance around, should I be masking? I am vaccinated. Can I get COVID? I think they're probably struggling. And
so are there free places for them to go? Is there somewhere where they can go get help if they're insurance or they don't have insurance, to help out them real fast?
Yeah, 2 great resources. So I always recommend individuals start talking at their family doctor. Family doctors are well trained in recognizing mental health and being able to manage mental health and medical conditions. And I think it's just an easy place to start that conversation.
All right. Well, Dr. Barley, thank you for starting the conversation with us here today. For more information to find out and connect with Dr. Barley, all you have to do is go to stridechc.org, but something tells me you'll be seeing more of her. We'll be right back. Ramos Law is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. He's a medical doctor and a lawyer. Ramos Law. What makes us different makes us better. Kathie J. Welcome back, everybody. This has been a really powerful half hour, and I can't thank all of you enough for sitting there and learning with me this hour. I learned a lot, so thank you. I hope you guys did too. JJ, my lovely husband, did you learn anything?
Yes. There's lots of resources out there, great people that you can talk to, and you're not alone.
Yeah.
I'm not alone.
Right.
And to not be afraid, not be embarrassed of going through a mental illness and
living with it. I love you. Dr. Erin, anything you want to close us out with today?
Thank you both for this really important conversation. I think just highlighting that there is hope, there is treatment. Reaching out is the first step.
That's awesome. Yes, it is. It is. So thank you guys for being here today, and thank you guys at home for watching. And it's already time to say goodbye. Boo! But I have to thank everybody that really has helped the Kathie J Show get on the air. Without you guys, I couldn't do this. So thank you to my partners, Colorado Lottery, Ramos Law, FitMD, and Oakwood Homes, and IKEA Centennial for my amazing set. The very talented Such for the theme song. I love you. And I also want to thank my husband, JJ, I love you, and Dr. Barley for being with us today. I think we all learned a lot about OCD, but before we go, since it is my 10-year anniversary with my husband, I have a gift for you, honey.
Oh.
I have a gift. So I looked it up, okay? The gift for 10 years is, it represents strength and resilience, which is what you are, strength and resilience, and that's been our marriage. Aluminum is the 10-year anniversary gift. Isn't that amazing? So I didn't even bother to wrap it. I just grabbed it from our kitchen and thought I'd bring it home for you.
Thank you. I've always wanted some of this.
I'm kidding. Okay, so in all seriousness, I have to say this, okay? So I know that you didn't want me to spend any money on our anniversary, okay? So I got you something that every man wants on his anniversary that is completely free.
Football.
No. A shout out on your wife's new TV show. Yay! Baby, I love you so much. Thank you for giving our beautiful girls.
Congratulations on the new show.
I love you. You're my favorite thing in the world. You are my light. I love you. Mwah. Bye.